lot of corrosive toxicity enters the airspace whenever the issues of um, importance to the neoconservative war councils arise in public debate. In fact, the so-called toxic environment in social media is disturbingly um, related to this tendency to become hysterical when foreign policy is discussed in public. I don't know why. It doesn't happen in classrooms, doesn't happen in scholarly exchanges, doesn't happen at the dinner table very often. But since voting Republican is for obvious reasons completely out of the question, the purpose of today's um, speak out message is an advisory, should anybody care to refer to my counsel, to administrations of public schools and administrators of the public trust concerning just how bad is the Democratic Party. One of the things we know about progress in society at large is it's frequently measured by the ability of once marginalized racial stereotypes and sexual minorities to arrive at positions, for example, as stars on the TV show Friends, or as rich ornamental gangsters in the Godfather Society of Hollywood, and so on. What I want to discuss, however, is the impact on public schools and how the Democratic Party foments this. One of the things that is relatively easy to ascertain about the AIDS attack is that there really was a major investment in abstinence and fidelity as measures of the morality of somebody's idea of AIDS as just worth. John Lennon made a big stink of being in the sexual revolution, being confused when he was younger and coming to fidelity with his marriage with crack aggregator McQueener. And this stink was to be celebrated in the very same pop culture that he made his dirty. And the generation was supposed to la-di-da for cleanup time and so forth. And this was conspicuously timed to the AIDS attack. Now, Mackenzie Shirella was one of the people who was confused and denied a fair trial because of how she was targeted by sinister, undercover professional administrative drug pushers. And they did the same thing to me. They scripted in a note from the Zionists in Pittsburgh that nothing hurts more than seeing the girl you love go out with the person who you're most afraid of, who's battered you senseless and tortured you. And this was actually a planned reconnaissance by the Axis Avengers. Michael Tive, they used a nerve agent on me so that it hurt all the more, so that my desperate reasoning to justify being part of the homeboy system in Pittsburgh, where the poor just, matriculated from looking for the appropriate partner for them for a few years. Nobody really settled down that often. Sometimes they did raise families. It would have been nice, but being deaf and being targeted this way, I was excluded from that. I just considered myself a homeboy, and I hoped that it would last and be productive. And I usually just got beaten up, but it came out in my letters that this was happening. that the toxins were affecting my ability to heal properly, as Wheeler called it, or not take out my fucked upness on other people, as Matt Marcus put it. Which meant, the girl kissed you, fucked you, and she wants to forget you. What's wrong with you? She kissed you, she fucked you, she wants to forget you. What's wrong with you? This is the way they think. And this was their doctrine. And you were supposed to abide by that. Come in, stick you with a postcard, and then rip it out and say, you're a defiant trespasser. It's Warpo world. Well, to understand the love's hypnosis element of what happened to Mackenzie Shirley, you start with Michael Tive. He gave me a Swiss Army knife where the pick was missing. See, he looks like Fripp, and I had Rodney Tagg as a music teacher. So Rodney told he was picking on Crary. And they matched me up with Dee Dee, who had already lost her virginity to Nikki DeVarno, who's still caseworking this stuff with Nikki Haley. So Haley's comic, get it, bing! So the absence of virginity is Pope Carl put it, the initial encounter of the ex-motive is tainted by the shadow of the adversary, a Gilgamesh there. And they set up this business with sort of taekwondo pussy ball, where the woman seduces you and tells you in the morning she has an arranged marriage from India. And then the black man comes from Seattle and says, screw your dada, I get the symbol of life. And Midori Goto comes dancing down the flaming Everglades with the Dalai Lama. And Barack Obama hits the newsstands. I mean, this George Bush catastrophe traces back to Krokag Ragusa looking at the arguments of the liberals in the 60s that integration wasn't about miscegenation. And she said, so what if it is? So they have this contract between black symbols and white symbols, a eugenic art. They make racism an issue of distribution curves. Well, the truth is that there's a whole royal class of enormous billionaires who are black around the world. There really are. And to get around that, they pick on somebody who's deaf and white and a homeboy and confused and has been battered and tortured by the Ku Klux Klan and say, let's watch the tea kettle go off with love hypnosis, white phosphorus window pane when the kid is crying child. They beat his brains in, right? And Martin Sheen comes and says, why not? They come and read to me, the hustler people from John Wayne headquarters, why not swap when I'm 14 years old, right? Why not has the double entendre of YMCA not. That's where my grandparents met, right? So they attack the symbol of dignity. You don't get your pick. Get it? And this is the sort of thing that's going on because of the FBI. They work with the Neva Corporation, the Beatles, and Epstein Island. Look at the list of Epstein Island. Look at the people like Celine Dion, who picked her nose at me about a girl who was a virgin, who after dating me for 2 years. And so that doesn't reflect honorably on me. Start naked all the time together. It was my honor to reflect on how coy she was being and honor it. And she picks her nose at me, that proves you're a rapist. Weird. And she goes up to Epstein Island, right, and announces hostilities that include the rape of my deaf girlfriend. Because they're psychopathic. And these people got into office through the manipulations of like Joe Biden and the union in Pittsburgh. The NAACP has announced endorsement of Two Virgins Pussy Ball clock to the AIDS attack in no uncertain terms. We know it was about AIDS and we support it. And they refuse to teach. They refuse to go in third grade and say, if you have sex out of wedlock, we will send the Gestapo and kill you, which would be a far more honest, far more appropriate thing to do than what they're pulling.